Today, we're talking about brakes, one of the most important, if not the most important part to a car. They save lives and they can drastically increase the confidence in your driving, especially in your footwork when you're on the track. Let's be honest, every time you see big brakes on a car, whether it be a BMW, a Holden, a Subaru, no matter what it is, you know that person has got game. In today's episode, I'm going to show you a test between the difference of an OEM brake test and a performance Alcon Big Brake Kit test as well. I'm also going to help you decide which brake kit is right for your car. And we all know 100% that I am not smart enough to fit these brakes by myself. So we are going to visit the man, the myth, the legend himself, Tommo, down at MSR Performance to make our dreams come true. I'm Tom, this is the Pit Pony. We're going to stop harder to go faster. I'm about to jump the speed to 30,000 feet. Alright, so let's talk about what a brake is. We've got a caliper, we've got pads, we've got rotors, and then we also have brake lines. Alright, so let's talk about calipers for 1 second. Calipers determine the pot that is running over the rotor. Different pots, you can have 2s, 4s, 6s, and even 8s, and they get extremely big, and sometimes you do look at it and you go, wow, that seems to be really unnecessary. But it is necessary, and it's all about stopping power. So the difference between a 2-pot, a 4-pot, and a 6-pot, and an 8-pot, all that you really have to remember is that it's dispersing the heat and the dust over the course of a bigger surface area. That's really all it's doing at the end of the day. So yeah, technically the bigger the pot, the bigger the stopping power. So what type of calipers are we using? Well, I can happily say we are using a big Alcon brake performance kit. We've got some TA4s, which is the rear in my hand here, which is really, really cool. They're 4-pot. And then we've also got these massive 6-pot TA6s. And as you can tell by the big smile on my face, we're going to be able to stop very hard with these. So I reckon we're going to be able to shave about probably 5 seconds off our lap times that we did at the track night. We were doing about 151s just with the OEM brakes on. I genuinely believe we can start hitting 145s at Eastern Creek and hopefully get into the low 4s. So one little cool thing about these Alcon calipers is they've got some really cool thermal tape, and you'll notice that it's got some pretty cool color. So this is Pro Speed Red, and if you're looking to get some Alcon brakes off us, we can actually organize this color for you. So yeah, a little bit of an incentive for you. Let's talk about pads. These are Project New. They are straight from Japan and they are really sick. You can find pads in a range of different compounds and materials, which can also really determine the price of them as well. But the general terminology that you're going to hear is organic, ceramic, or semi-metallic. They all do different things, and some are dedicated more for street driving and some are dedicated more for the track. Rotors. Okay, so rotors are an interesting one. You have slotted, you've got drilled, you've got slotted and drilled, you've got flat. It can be really, really overwhelming sometimes, and I totally understand. Why are there different types? Okay, so sometimes there's personal preference, but there's also a practicality to it too. You've got to remember, as the pad is coming over the rotor itself, it's dispersing that heat. Some would argue that the slotted rotors do that job really, really well. So as it goes round in the caliper, the pad pushes on the rotor, and as that slot goes around, it's pushing all the dust that comes out as well as the heat. Drilled rotors, again, personal preference, but drilled is really, really good at dispersing heat that is in your rotor. And trust me, these babies get real hot, especially if you're on the track and you're braking really hard coming into turns. You really, really need to be able to disperse the heat, which is why you can get into ducting and all forms of different variations of the rotor. In our case, we have 355mm by 32 Alcon rotors, and as you can see, they have a really unique C-cut design, which has been proven and tested in all forms of motorsport across the globe. You can see these in JDM cars, you can see these in Euro cars. I've seen these within V8s as well. Alcon, they are the best at what they do, and we stock a heck of a lot of them. So if you're into the track scene and you're taking racing seriously, get yourself some of these. Good job, Alcon. All right, so let's talk about brake lines for a second. Brake lines, for the most part, are actually pretty good, so long as they're not old. What you'll find with brake lines, whether you're doing daily driving or you are starting to frequently visit the track, is you'll start to get empty spaces when you put your foot down on the brake. That's because old brake lines can decay, and that little gap means you really need to start looking at changing your brake lines. You can replace them with just stock OEM replacements, or sometimes the best option is, and I'd argue this even just for street driving, definitely for the track, is just get some steel braided brake lines. They come in a million different brands. At the end of the day, they all do the same thing, and they can really help the confidence in your driving, and just knowing that your brake fluid isn't going to fail on you reaching the calipers, which is then reaching the pads, which is then reaching the rotors. Guys, brakes are the most important part of a car. Don't forget that. All right, it's all out of the way. Let's go test these OEM brakes. All right, so for this test, we've got a bit of road here, which I've come in and I've done some super serious, legit measurements of about 50, 100, and 150. We're gonna do a rolling shot of 60 kilometers per hour, and we're gonna do 100 kilometers per hour. We'll do before and after, so we're gonna test the OEM, and then we'll do the Alcons after and see how much of a difference we make. I think it's gonna be a lot. So it has been raining, it doesn't really change anything, but I'd say that's a little bit more authentic, to be honest. So let's do it. Enough of this. Let's just go put the big brakes on. So it's a new day. Tommo's already broken in the brakes, and we're gonna take it to our little test spot so we can figure out how much better these things stop. Let's do it.
If you need it or want it, then you know I can get it. I am so well connected, everything custom fitted. I keep some doty, I'm blowing smoke, I'm riding slow, I'm spinning dope, I'm sitting low and I'm trying to cope. I'm cold as fuck and I ain't got a coat.
So was this all worth it? Undoubtedly, yeah, 100%, man. What we're trying to achieve at Sydney Motorsport Park, we're trying to get into the 140s, if not try break the 140s on the GP circuit. So we absolutely need this to happen. In terms of if you're just driving a street car, man, you probably don't have to fork out as much as you want for these Alcon brakes. They're sick and they look mean, but if you're just a street driver, it's not really worth it. If you're a track enthusiast, or you do rally, or you're just getting into some insane speeds and this is what you want to do, I can't fault Alcon. They do the job really well. These TA6s and TA4s front and rear, man, like it's unbelievable, the stopping power, so can't fault it. These Alcon kits, you're looking $4,000 plus. Especially if you want a front and a rear package for your car. In this case of the BRZ, what we needed to do, we had to spend this type of money to set the lap times that we wanted to. Is this necessary for just an everyday street driver? No, I don't think so. You can actually get away with, you know, just doing some rotors, some pads, and a good set of braided brake lines as well will go a long way. Even on your stock setup, it'll go a long way. You'd be surprised what you can do just with that setup alone. But there's a million different choices out there. We stock it all at Pro Speed Racing, and if you're still struggling to figure out what brakes you need for your car, you just need to pick up the phone and give us a call. So, was it easy to install? Well, brakes for the most part actually aren't that complicated to install. For us, we got Tommo to do it down at MSR Performance, and it was a huge help. Having a hoist is a huge help, so we basically got them off and on, as you saw, pretty quickly. If you're doing it in the driveway, it's probably best to get a mate with you, especially when you're pumping brake fluid through your brakes. It always helps just having an extra person in the car just to pump the pedal whilst you're going around and twisting the wrench. So yeah, look, they're not that hard to install, no matter how big or small they are. Just with the right tools, you can probably get it done. So that wraps up this season of the Pit Pony. This is brakes. If you took a lot of value out of this episode or you still have some questions for us, why don't you give us a call at Pro Speed Racing, or you can jump on the website www.prospeedracing.com.au. I really hope you guys took some value out of this episode. If you want to follow us on social media, you want to follow this journey, I'm sure we'll be going into a season 2 of this Pit Pony. More than likely we're going to do some engine internals, we might get some flex fuel kits going with some E85, and maybe just a few more suspension upgrades too. So that wraps up season 1. It's been a ball doing this, it's been a lot of learning doing this, but thanks for watching guys, appreciate it. I'm Tom, this is the Pit Pony, on and off. Faster lap times make some sick turbo noises. Me dead, why am I saying turbo so weirdly? Now I'm gonna really do the same. Oh what? Roll. Roads, where we're going, we need roads.